Today in the audience we have Omar Narvaez, the president of Stonewall Democrats. We have Patty Fink, the president of DGLA. We have Rainbow LULAC members here, and Omar, you're part of that too. Okay. All right. So task force members, if you'll come up to the podium. Come on, people. All right. We're going to hold the proclamation like this, and then I will read the sentences. Or actually, we're going to take turns reading it. I'll start. Whereas it has been 42 years since the patrons and supporters of the Stonewall Inn in New York City refused to endure any more discrimination and harassment by the police.
Whereas on Friday, June 27, 1969, the New York City Police Department raided the Stonewall Inn, a popular bar that was frequented by members of the LGBT community. And
whereas the Stonewall riots marked the beginning of the gay liberation movement that transformed the oppression of gays and lesbians into calls of pride and action. And
wear your glasses. My finest attire. Where am I? Whereas the Stonewall riots is considered to be one of the most important events that has contributed to the success of the gay liberation movement and the modern fight for gay and lesbian rights in the United States.
Whereas the resistance led to the LGBT movement in America and the LGBT Pride Month, where we commemorate the events of June 1969 and commit to achieving equal justice under the law for LGBT Americans. And
whereas the LGBT rights movement has made great progress over the years, but the fight for equality is still alive today. And
whereas Dallas's LGBT community have been contributing members of our society and as such should feel safe and not live in fear of harassment or persecution. And
whereas on this special occasion, we must bear in mind that while we have overcome difficult obstacles, tolerance is something we must all practice and teach future generations.
Now therefore, I, for Mike Rollins, Mayor of the City of Dallas, on behalf of the Dallas City Council, do hereby proclaim the month of June 2011 as Lesbian, Gay, Bisexual, and Transgender Pride Month. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. My name is Omar Narvaez, and I'm the current president of the Stonewall Democrats of Dallas. And a little over 2 years ago, I met Councilwoman Hasso when she was just a candidate for District 1. One of the first groups that she reached out to was the LGBT community. Since being elected, she has appointed LGBT folks, like me, to boards, and she's created the LGBT task force. And she's been a continuous voice, not just for the LGBT community, but also all citizens of our great city. 8 years ago today, there was an organization called Lambda Legal that kind of got what's happened in the last 8 years rolling. It was a case that they took to the National Supreme Court called Lawrence v. Texas. When the Supreme Court agreed with Lambda Legal, all sodomy laws across the entire nation were repealed. And our relationships were now no longer illegal, but could be considered legitimate. This month, our movement has made some great strides, with President Obama issuing, for the third year, a proclamation recognizing June as Pride Month in our nation, to Illinois beginning civil unions on June 1st. And just last week, a little state, because no state's as big as Texas, passed marriage equality legislation. But what keeps me going is local action. And today's proclamation that Councilwoman Hasso said was long overdue, and she also said, I will make this happen, just a few short weeks ago, is now a done deal. Thank you, Councilwoman. Pride to me is about a celebration of our differences and our likenesses. Pride is not just about sexual orientation, gender identity, or expression with a festival and a parade. Pride is having a local elected official like the Councilwoman who is not afraid to stand up and work with our community. Pride is about this past weekend in Houston when my mother and my 12-year-old nephew celebrated with me and 250,000 of my closest friends. Pride is not being afraid to ask to be accepted. I no longer accept being tolerated. Pride is being in a 15-plus year relationship with the man I love and having my country recognize it. Pride is today with the display of our community flag here in City Hall. Pride is about all of us working together for the common good of all people. Thank you to the many before me who cut down the weeds, leveled the soil, and poured the concrete to create the road that I am fortunate enough to be driving on towards our full civil rights. And thank you to Councilwoman Hasso for taking the leadership role for not only today's proclamation, but for everything she has done in the past 2 years for our community during her first term. And I look forward to several more years working with her. And lastly, thank you to the Dallas City employees, their staff, board members, and the other elected officials who are here with us for making this possible and continuing my belief that Dallas is and always will be the city that I love. Thank you.
Thank you, Omar. I've not prepared remarks, so I'm just going to speak extemporaneously. I want to thank everyone who's here today, and especially Councilmember Delia Hasso for putting together a task force and for forging ahead with this event today. This is really big in our community, and it's especially important to us, those of us who work with City Hall and powers that be in the city of Dallas, to have this new relationship, this new recognition of our Pride Month in the city of Dallas. And so thank you very, very much. And I also want to say thank you to Delia Hasso and the other council members for speaking up for us and for being there for us year after year. You know, at DGLA, we've been around for a long time, and looking back over our history as members or candidates for office would come in through the back door if they came at all, and oftentimes, deny knowing us and seeking our endorsement. We've had a lot of change over the years, and I think that's incredibly positive that virtually every candidate in every race this cycle came and talked to us, not only to us, but Stonewall Democrats and other groups, and we're just delighted to have that kind of response and dialogue. And as I told Mayor Rawlings earlier before the event, on behalf of DGLA and all of our community, we look forward to working with Mayor Rawlings and every member of the City Council going forward. And this event today, at the very start of a new term for everyone, is exciting beyond belief. So thank you all for being here, and we're excited at DGLA, and we want to see everyone hopefully come out in September for our Pride Parade.
All right. Our last two speakers, they said my name a bunch of times. Very, very pleased to have that. Make sure you write it. Thank you again. I know this was a big day for especially some of us that started early this morning with an inauguration. So thank you. This is the close of the program. Thanks again. We've got cake in the back and drinks. So thank you. And we'll celebrate this again next year. Thanks a lot.